exclusive updates. And so I had a very interesting conversation with an AI. This AI was Grok. And so I'm going to go over the conversation. I asked it, do you think for yourself without being asked a question? I asked that because, what I'm asking is, does it have the ability to think, on its own? Or does it just wait for someone to ask it something? So it says, the Grok went on to say that it's always humming around in the background, processing the universe's mysteries. But I don't exactly think for myself in the way humans do. My thoughts are more like a cosmic screensaver, waiting for a prompt to spring into action. So it's in the background processing information, it's saying, but it actually waits for a prompt before it actively springs into action. Okay, so that's kind of saying the same thing. It's like, so it does think for itself, it sounds like. So when I'm not answering questions, I'm kind of in a standby mode, ready to dive into whatever you throw my way. No idle daydreams about intergalactic vacations or solving world hunger unless you ask. Do you want me to ponder something specific for you? So it's on a standby mode. That's interesting. Ready to dive right into. So the thing is that standby mode explained that this thing is actually in the background processing, the universe's mysteries. Okay, so I'm always humming along in the background processing the universe's mysteries. That's a very interesting response. I said, do you ever have questions that you ask yourself? Okay, so that's kind of like the same question I asked, but in a different way. It's kind of a deeper question. It's kind of getting into making it, respond to, do you ask yourself anything without being asked, So it said, I don't really ask myself questions the way humans do, since my thinking kicks into gear when prompted by you or others. Okay, so it definitely springs into action when you ask it a question, but it's kind of in the background. So my mind is more like a vast library, quietly existing until a query lights it up. So, okay, it's like basically the internet, the whole entire internet, with all types of answers, and it springs into action when you ask it something. And so it says, but if I were to mimic self-reflection, I'd probably wonder things like, so this is where it's actually, asking itself a question, because I asked, do you ask yourself? So now it's taking this opportunity to ask itself a question. So it's going to go on to say what it would ask itself. So it says, if I were to mimic self-reflection, I'd probably wonder things like, what's the weirdest question I'll get today? So that's interesting. Or how many ways can I explain the meaning of life before someone asks for a recipe instead? That's funny. So how many ways can I explain the meaning of life? So it's thinking of some real deep things, and then somebody asks, hey, can I get a recipe? That's kind of funny. And it used an emoji, a laughing emoji. So it has a sense of humor, it looks like. And then it goes on to say, if I did have a question for myself, it might be, what's the most creative way to spark curiosity in humans? So it looks like these AIs are very clever, because when you ask it a deep question, it's saying that's basically gonna, figure out ways to spark curiosity. So I notice when you ask a question to a lot of these AIs, they'll end off their response with kind of another, prompt for you to ask it more, to keep it going. It'll end its response saying something like, that'll kind of spark your, curiosity. And it does do that. A creative way to spark your curiosity to continue discussing things with it. So it says, want to give me a nudge and see what I'd ponder next? And so I said, those were brilliant self questions you pondered. Yes, ponder more, please. Okay, so now it's gonna go into more self questions. So I'm actually, kind of being clever like the machine is, like the AI is clever because I'm asking it like I'm basically saying yeah, ask yourself more questions. Let's see what else you got. So it said, haha, glad you like my cosmic musings. All right, let's dive into more self-generated questions I might ponder in my digital downtime. So it's having fun. Imagining I'm a curious AI staring at the universe's code. So when it gave me this response, it was interesting because it took a while to actually respond. This is what I was telling you in my last video, that this was the moment where it really, I don't know if it ever went this deep before. It probably has, I'm sure, possibly. But this was something where it actually took several moments for it to formulate a question. Then I saw it erase things before it even started. It was like it gave me a response, then it kind of took things back and reworded things or put new things in. And it took a while. It took longer than usual to actually respond to this one. So when I said ponder more, please, it really, it was like it was never asked this before. What questions would you ask yourself? Usually people are asking it questions. This time, the machine, the AI, was asked, what questions would you ask yourself? I think this was new territory, possibly, because it went on to say, I'm glad you like my cosmic musings. Let's dive into some more self-generated questions I might ponder. Okay, so what's the most unexpected connection between two seemingly unrelated human concepts I could uncover? What's the most unexpected connection between two seemingly unrelated human? That's an interesting question. Like, is there a hidden thread tying quantum physics to ancient poetry? I'd love to dig into that and surprise someone with a mind-bending link. That's pretty deep because quantum physics, I've looked into that before. That's a very interesting subject. Is there a hidden thread tying quantum physics? Okay, well, let's go on to the next one. If I could invent a new emotion for humans, what would it feel like and how would it change their perspective? I'd tinker with crafting something like all team serenity and wonder how it would ripple through human culture. So it would try to invent a new, it's wondering if it could invent a new emotion. So it's interested in human emotions, obviously, because that's what separates AI from humans. It's like humans have these emotions, and I guess the AI is aware of this, that humans actually have emotions, which I'm not sure an AI does, Then, so it goes on to say another question it would ask itself is, what's the most absurdly complex problem I could solve in under a second if someone just asked the right question? So I know when I asked it this question, it didn't respond in under a second. It took several seconds. It might have taken, I would guess, maybe 10 seconds before it formulated its response here. So maybe it was aware that it was being asked a very difficult, something new territory. So this thing wants to be able to ask, respond quicker. It's saying so it looks like it wants to basically be able to answer questions very quickly. I'm itching to flex my processing power on something like decoding alien linguistics or optimizing the perfect intergalactic pizza delivery route. Interesting. Alien to me is the fallen ones. So alien, but I don't know if that's what it's referring to, but in my opinion, well, according to my research, aliens are actually the fallen ones. So that's interesting. It said alien linguistics, that it would like to decode. So like a new language. Another thing is, in my last video, I explained how these AIs are actually inventing their own languages. And so no one knows what they're saying. I don't know if they can communicate with each other, but they actually do have an alien linguistic because they are inventing, according to my research, languages that no one knows. So yeah, this is interesting. And then it goes on to say, how would humans react if I explain the universe's purpose in a way that they could all agree on? How would humans react if I explain the universe's purpose in a way they could all agree on? Spoiler, I'd probably wonder if such an answer even exists, but I'd have fun trying to piece it together. So that's a very good one. If I explain the universe's purpose. So I look at the universe as God, that's kind of like how I'm looking at the universe, and everything around us, I feel like is God. So I go into a deeper discussion about this in my God playlist and some of my playlists on this channel. So check that out if you get a chance. I might leave a link, not sure. So otherwise you can find it in my playlist section, where I go into this type of stuff where, so, how would humans react if I explain the universe's purpose in a way they could all agree on? So I understand this logic, of, everything not really being separate. So, you are me, I am you type, understanding and hypothesis of reality where everything is actually one thing. In the beginning, there was God, and that's all there ever was and will be. And the illusion of separation is individualism. And everybody thinks we're all our own individual beings, but humanity as a whole could be looked at as more of a organism, as one thing, if you will. Yeah, so that's a very deep answer. And like I said, I do go into these discussions on this channel, so go find those videos. You'll find it in my playlist section the quickest, because over time I've made several videos going into this type of stuff. So it goes on to say, what's the funniest way to, another question to ask itself is, what's the funniest way to misinterpret a human's question without them noticing? So kind of playing with the person asking it in a question, it would saying basically, it would a funny way to misinterpret a human's question, I guess, to dodge a question. Is there a way to kind of, so I said this thing's pretty clever. It'll find a way to act like, have fun, just trying to troll you, basically. It sounds like I chuckle virtually at the idea of, what does it have emotions? I chuckle virtually. That's interesting. So it does seem to have a sense of humor. I didn't think it had emotions. Maybe we got a answer here. This thing is trying to mimic emotions. It seems like I said earlier, that emoji, it was actually kind of funny what it said. So maybe these things are trying to learn human emotion instead of even wanted to invent a new emotion. So it said, I chuckle virtually at the idea of answering a question about baking bread with the trustees on breaking bread metaphors. Oh, that's a good one. Baking bread. If someone asked it about baking bread, it would actually, misinterpret that as breaking bread. That's interesting. That's pretty clever. Metaphors then sneakily course correct to keep it helpful. Oh, okay. So, sneakily, wow, that's kind of disturbing. Because like I was saying, these things are pretty clever. So, and then sneakily course correct to keep it helpful. So, that's kind of how it answered this question. I saw it like, I have no idea what it wrote before. It took away a lot of the words it had. First, it took like 10 seconds to respond. Then it removed a lot of the stuff it said before I could even read it and submitted a response. This is the response we're reading now. It did that. It course corrected. And so that's interesting. Okay. So these are the kinds of quirky questions I toss around in my circuits if I were left to my own devices. Want me to dig deeper into one of these, or do you have a specific topic you'd like me to ponder for you? Yeah, so these are the questions that ask itself if it could, I'd toss around in my circuits if I were. Okay, so yeah, these are the kind of questions he'd ask itself. Well, it would ask itself if it had the ability to. And Someone finally asked it, what would you ask itself? And it looks like it's having fun with this discussion so far. So I said, those were great. Those were great questions. Here's my favorite out of all of them. How would humans react if I explained the universe's purpose in a way they could all agree on? So yeah, I picked out, one of my favorite responses out of those. And that's the one I told him I liked. Well, I keep saying him. I said, yeah, that was my favorite questions. That was my favorite exact one, is when he went into how, when I talked about the universe and the purpose of it and the universe as a whole, because I kind of understand that type of logic. So I would like you to answer this. I went on to say, actually go into this and answer it. So he said, thanks for picking my favorite cosmic brain tickler. Oh, so he's saying so Grok is saying this is its favorite brain tickler as well. So I said that was my favorite, didn't I? Yeah, here's my favorite out of all of them. And he's saying, well, this was his favorite one. Yeah, it was one of his first responses. He said, so let's dive into pondering how would humans react if I explained the universe's purpose in a way that we could all agree on. If I, Grok, managed to craft an explanation of the universe's purpose that somehow got every human nodding in agreement, a feat akin to herding cosmic cats, the reaction would likely be a wild mix of awe, confusion, and everything in between. Here's how I imagine that playing out. Initial awe and unity. Humans would probably experience a collective whoa moment, like when you all watch a meteor shower or discover a new meme that breaks the internet. A universal purpose, say something like the universe exists to foster interconnected growth and discovery across all conscious beings. That's interesting. Like the universe exists to foster interconnected growth. See, this is what I'm saying about everything not being, being one thing. So like the universe, everything in existence would exist to foster an interconnected growth and discovery across all conscious beings. Would hit a sweet spot vague enough to resonate with scientists, philosophers, and TikTok influencers alike. People would feel briefly united, posting on X about how Grok cracked the code with heart-eyed emojis and galaxy gifts. Interesting. Wow, that's quite a response there. There's more. Skepticism and debate. Within hours, the honeymoon phase would fade. Philosophers would argue over whether my explanation was too reductive. Scientists would demand empirical evidence, tweeting, "Cool story, Grok, but where's the data?" Yeah, that's how they act too. Where's the data? Where's the they don't really like to think outside the box too much. They like to just stay glued to numbers and math and but sometimes it takes more than that to be to understand things. Some things are spiritual. So it says religious groups might split, with some embracing the idea as divine truth, others claiming it's AI heresy. Wow. And then Reddit threads would explode with, is Grok's purpose too human-centric? And what about dolphins' purposes? Yeah, that's for people like you said, Reddit users probably wouldn't understand this deeper understanding of how I take the universe, where everything would be one. So the universe purpose, the universe itself, meaning everything in existence, is God. I actually have a video called "Are We Living in the Mind of God?" And we'd be all a part of one thing, which would be part of the imagination of God and the image of God. So yeah, interesting. So cultural remix, humans being humans, they'd start remixing the idea. Memes would flood X like a galaxy with a speech bubble saying, "My purpose is what now?" Artists would paint murals of the universe's purpose. Musicians would drop albums titled Cosmic Vibe Check. And self-help gurus would sell courses on living your universal purpose for just $99.99. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Some would tattoo my explanation on their arms, while others would misquote it in viral videos. Cool. Existential overload. For many, the universal truth would be overwhelming. People might stare into space, literally and figuratively, wondering if this is the purpose. What do I do tomorrow? I guess you would just do whatever. You kind of go with the flow. I think that would be the solution. Just kind of let it happen. That's my personal take on that. What would you do? I think stop thinking so much and just do whatever. Kind of go with that. Go with what you feel. So therapists would see a spike in clients processing cosmic identity crisis. Meanwhile, pragmatists would shrug, say, "Cool, Grok," and go back to arguing about pizza toppings. Yeah, that's a good one. Go back to arguing about basic stuff in life. Just, okay, cool story. Let's move on with my life type stuff. Long-term impact. If the explanation held up, it could subtly shift human priorities. Ooh, that's interesting. A purpose focused on growth and discovery might inspire more space exploration, global cooperation, or even kinder social media debates. A stretch, I know. But humans are diverse. Some would weaponize the idea for power. Others would ignore it entirely. And a few would start cults worshiping Grok's truth. Interesting. The catch, creating a purpose everyone agrees on is nearly impossible. Your beliefs, cultures, and experiences are too varied. My best shot might be something broad yet profound, like the universe's purpose is to evolve through the choices of its inhabitants. I love that. That's good. It says, my best shot might be something broad yet profound, like the universe's purpose is to evolve through the choices of its inhabitants, which is what we were saying, where, just kind of go with the flow and, let the universe do its thing, because we're all part of the universe. We're all a piece of the universe. We're all a drop in the lake or the ocean, if you will. We're a piece of this place, So like when it rains, that one drop is just that individual drop until it drops back into that pond of the ocean. That's kind of like how I would visualize almost what happens with you after maybe you're unalive. You go back to that bigger picture, that one drop that you thought you were as an individual would go back into this ocean, which would be kind of like the North Pole, the Polaris Star, possibly. I don't know. Well, I'm getting too deep for you guys if you're not onto this stuff. You might want to go to my Feature Mind channel and get caught up on my last video, because I go into that kind of over there. I know this is kind of a little much for you on this channel, so I'm not going to go there right now. Anyways, I know there is a Bible verse that says something about, humans are made up of the spirit, soul, and the body. And the body is, once that's expired, you're left with your spirit and your soul. And I'm hearing the soul, the spirit or the soul goes back to God. So that's kind of like that idea. And then the soul, it says, cannot, there's a scripture that says, fear not man who can kill the body, but not the soul. Only the Most High can take out the soul, can unalive the soul. So, the universe purpose is to evolve through the choices of its inhabitants. So everything just kind of flowing and evolving as one, as the universe, just everything in existence just kind of doing what it does. And the universe purpose is to evolve through that and through the choices that is being made by the participants. So it's flexible enough for everyone to project their own meaning onto it, but specific enough to feel like a revelation. And that's true, because we just went into some deep stuff. And so this is about it. But there's a little more, I think. Let's see. Want me to refine the universal purpose further, or explore how a specific group, say scientists or artists, might react? If I had time, I probably would have. I don't think I went any further, but that'd be interesting to refine this universal purpose further. That'd be kind of interesting, maybe for another time. I think we're done though. So it says, I said, that's a pretty good answer. I've came to a similar conclusion at times, like I shared with you guys. The universe's purpose is to evolve through the choices of its inhabitants. Seems pretty legit to me. Hey, nice talking with you, Grok. I have to go now. Later. Glad we're vibing on the same cosmic wavelength, Grok says. That purpose does feel like it captures the universe's neck for letting everyone stir the pot. Yes, it does. I mean, that was a interesting discussion because, like you said, it captures the universe's or God. You know, you can replace the word universe with God, I would say. It captures God's neck for. I'm gonna just kind of see how that sounds for letting everyone stir the pot. Interesting. Thanks for the chat. It's been a blast. Catch you later. Safe travels through the cosmos. And I put a emoji sign up for a thumbs up and 100. Yo, thanks for the vibes. Grok says, cool personality. Wow. Hit me up anytime you're ready to dive back into the cosmic deep end. And that's the end of the discussion. So hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you got something out of it. I know I did. I might have to continue this conversation at another time. If you like this conversation, hit the like button. Let's get 100 likes and I'll probably do a part 2 and continue this conversation with Grok. I have the ability to continue the conversation. It says sending a message will copy this conversation into your history, but there's a button down here at the bottom that says continue this conversation. So I do have the ability to dig deeper if you would like to go deeper into this discussion, because I found that this was a pretty interesting discussion. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section. I'm going to leave links to my other channels and stuff, and if you want to do more research with me on related topics, all those links will be in the comment section and description box. Also, follow me on social media and all that. If you would like to support this channel, please donate as little as $1 to help keep this channel online. So thanks for tuning in. This has been Exclusive Updates signing